The Pathfinder panel will let you combine multiple objects in very specific ways, changing their shapes. Some of these changes will be permanent and destructive, and some of them won't. Let's see how it works. First thing I want to do is, let's just get the rectangle tool. I just want a color background so we can see what we're doing. And just draw a rectangle somewhere on the page like that. And let's give it maybe a medium gray background, just so we can manipulate other objects on top of it. I'm going to deselect Command-Shift-A on the Mac or Control-Shift-A in Windows. And let's go back there and get the ellipse tool. I want to draw a circle. I'll just hold the Shift key down to draw a circle. And let's get a different color. I'll make this yellow. And also let's give this a stroke of maybe a medium blue. And let's see, maybe 3 or 4 points. So we can see that. I'll get the regular selection tool back, and I want a duplicate of this. So I'm going to hold down the Option key on the Mac or the Alt key in Windows, drag kind of like that so they're overlapping. Leave that the same color. Just going to click on the background and deselect. And now let's go and get maybe polygon. And you can hold the Shift key down if you want to constrain that, make that straight. Let's drag that on top of these, and let's give this a different color. Different fill color. Green is fine. So we have something like this. So before we actually even start using the Pathfinder panel, let's go and view side by side this preview and outline view. And the way we do that is let's go up to the window menu, choose New Window. So now it's kind of like we have two different files open, but just two different windows of the same one. Take one of them, doesn't matter which, just kind of drag it down off the tab. So we have looking kind of like this. And now let's go back to the window menu, arrange, and tile. And now we have them side by side. I'll just click in one, hold down the space bar so I get the grabber hand, and I'll move this. Click in this, hold the space bar down, and drag that. So now we can see both windows side by side. And by the way, there is an easier way of doing this that I really should have thought to tell you at first. And that is if you go up here, you put your mouse up here onto the control bar. To the right of the bridge icon is this little Arrange Documents icon. If you click that, you could go down here and choose 2 up, and that'll do exactly what we saw. And then if you want to get back to seeing only one window, you could go up here and choose Consolidate All. Okay, and I'll put that into Outline View, Command-Y or Control-Y in Windows, or go to the View menu and Outline View. So now we can see both side by side. Now let's bring up the Pathfinder panel. Back to the window menu, and scroll down if you need to, and bring up Pathfinder, and you see we also have a shortcut for it. I think I'll just leave this over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these objects. It doesn't matter in which order, but I'm going to click one and then Shift-click the others. And you notice that my green object is in the front. That's the frontmost object. Now in the Pathfinder panel, you see we have 2 rows. We have Shape Modes and Pathfinders. And you might wonder, oh, okay, well, what's the difference? It's really not all very clear. Shape modes tend to be more flexible, and they can be non-destructive. Pathfinders are less flexible, and they are destructive. You want to make sure that all the objects are selected. So I'm going to start with the green object, have that selected, Shift-click one yellow object, Shift-click the other yellow object. So all of them are selected. You see the bounding boxes around all of them, and you see the points, the anchor points are around all of them. Now let's go down here to Unite. And you notice that there's a little pop-up help there telling you about option clicking, or in Windows that's alt clicking. Let's ignore that for a moment. Just click the Unite button by itself and look what happens. It all turns into one big object, both here and in Outline View. Remember, Outline View is what's really happening behind the scenes. And the color that gets picked up is the color of the frontmost object. Well, let's undo. Press Command-Z or Control-Z in Windows. And let's take the advice there and hold down the Option key or the Alt key in Windows and then click Unite. And you notice that here in the preview, it looks the same thing. We still have a joined outline around everything, and it's all the same color, the color of the topmost object. But you see here in Outline View, really hasn't done that. It's just formatting that's happening. The objects still retain their original identity. I can get these objects back to separate objects if you want. I'm not talking about undoing. I'm saying if you leave this whole thing selected and click this drop-down context button in the upper right corner here, you can choose Release Compound Shape, and now they're all back to their individual objects again. Let's undo. And another option that you may have seen there is Expand. Expand means turn this into what you actually see. And that's the same thing. That Expand there is the same as clicking this Expand button over here. And now what you see here is real, and that's what's happening in Outline View. Again, let's undo. And click the drop down, and then we can choose to make a compound shape. That doesn't do anything because it already is a compound shape. Okay, so let's undo a few times so we have our original objects back. We have the green object in front and these two behind it. Let's go and take a look at the next one. That's minus front. If you click that, the two front objects get deleted and they act as cookie cutters, and the object that was all the way in the back still remains. And you can see that's also what's happening in real life in Outline View. Let's undo that. And this time, if you hold down the Option key or the Alt key in Windows and minus front, it looks like the same thing happens there, but again, you can see here in Outline View they retain their original identity. Okay, let's undo. And the third one here is intersect. Intersect will keep only the area here, this little area in the middle where all the objects are intersecting. So click that, and we have just that little area, and again, you can see in Outline View that's really happening. Let's undo. And this time hold down the Option key or the Alt key in Windows, and you get the view of what's happening, but again the objects retain their original shape. Okay, let's undo and go to the fourth shape mode here, Exclude. And you see what happens here is it's going to take all of the overlapping shapes, not just this one central area, all these overlapping areas, it's going to remove them, and everything's going to have the color of the frontmost object. Click that, and that's what happens there. It's kind of hard to see in the Outline View. Let's undo, and Option click or Alt click. It's going to look the same here, it's going to look the same there, but it does mean that you can eventually pull these apart if you like. I'm going to undo that. Okay, let's take a look at the Pathfinders. The first item here in Pathfinder's Divide, I kind of think of that as the stained glass effect because it's going to flatten everything, kind of like if you're familiar with Adobe Photoshop. It just flattens everything. Select it, and you see what happens here is it kind of treats everything like its neighbor's cookie cutter. None of these have the option. They don't even give you the help of using the Option key or the Alt key because it just doesn't exist with Pathfinders. Also, all of these will create a group when it does its thing. So let's ungroup. I'll just press Command-Shift-G or Control-Shift-G in Windows. Look off here, and now see you can separate each of these. That's why I said it's kind of like stained glass. It just flattens everything there. And let's undo a bunch of times until we get our original back. There we go. The next option here is Trim. Trim will remove any overlapping areas that are hidden, and it will also remove the strokes. So if you click that, so you see the strokes are gone, and you can see here in Outline View, overlapping areas are hidden. In fact, if you can even see this one over here, this curve does not extend because that's just now removed. It's deleted. Now, if you ungroup, this time I'll go to the Object menu to ungroup, and you can see there's a shortcut. Click over here, and now drag that out of the way, and we can drag this out of the way. Now, one thing you notice, though, with Trim is that these two, what were circles, they were both the same color. And what Trim does is when it sees these two overlapping objects of the same color, it does not merge them. It leaves them separate. Let's undo until we get back our original objects. Another way is Merge, and Merge is just like Trim. The difference is that Merge will merge these two objects that are the same color. So click that, and now you can see here in Outline View those two are now one shape. And here let's ungroup. However you want to ungroup is fine. And we can move this out of the way, and this is now one object. Again, let's undo until we get our originals back. The fourth item here is crop, and that uses this topmost object to crop everything. So if you click that, you notice it's gone, and whatever happened to be underneath it is what's remaining. You'll notice that these are two individual objects. And let's undo. And let's go and take a look at the next one, which is outline. And that's kind of a strange one. It's going to seem as though it doesn't really do anything, or that it just deletes everything. If you click it, you notice the fill is gone and the strokes are gone. I'll just click on the background here, and you can see just a little hairline is there just to tell you that something is still there on the page. You might wonder, well, why would I ever want this? And what that does is it turns all of this into just individual line segments. Make sure it's selected here and ungroup. Click off the background there, and now you can see each of these is just a very thin, and you can see a 0-point line segment. So if you ever need just the segments and not the actual stuff, not the actual fill, that's a good way to do it. And then you can take the path, and then if you need, you can, of course, make it thicker again and then apply a stroke color to it. And let's undo a bunch of times until we get our original objects back. The last item here is minus back. And if you click that, it's going to delete everything that's underneath the frontmost object. It's a cookie cutter and a cropping tool all rolled into one. But I think that there's an easier way to do some of these, and that's using the Shape Builder tool. And I'm going to show you the Shape Builder tool in the very next lesson.